Did you enjoy yourself for Sunday this week?
It was definitely really lively, and for once it actually wasn't to do with the two teams on the pitch or on the pitch antics at all.
But technically it was the on-pitch antics, but
Yes, we are of course talking about the Manchester United and Liverpool game that was scheduled to take place on Sunday afternoon at 4:30. However, that game didn't go ahead because of the protest from Manchester United fans. Now, this had been scheduled for a while now, since the European Super League was announced. United fans said they were going to do a lot of protests for the remainder of the season. Obviously, there was that one Thursday when they managed to storm the Carrington training ground. There was protests ahead of last week's game, and then obviously the stuff that happened on Sunday just gone. No surprise from the United fans to say that this protest went ahead. However, what did surprise myself and many other people was that they managed to easily storm onto the pitch at Old Trafford and protest the whole Glazer stuff and not wanting them to be the owners anymore. Absolute wild scenes. It's
the most entertaining half-4 kick-off I've ever seen.
Definitely. I mean, Sky didn't need to hype that up anymore. We had it all hyped up for us with that protest. Absolutely unreal.
First time a defence has been breached that easily at Old Trafford since the 6-1 against Man City.
Oh, Jesus. You can't be doing that. Come on.
I haven't seen that one. That's mine.
I was going to allow you to get away with saying I haven't seen a defence stormed this easily since the US Capitol.
But no, because this wasn't exactly that, was it? they waltzed in. The doors were held aloft for them, like, walk in, lads. Come on now.
But I think the thing is with that, it's easier to allow them to do it than put your life at risk and trying to hold them back. So I think
say that to security. The one security guard who got his face slashed.
Well, yeah, apart from him who got his face cut open, everything else was, I think, there's nothing you can do there. They're obviously going to be outnumbered, not expecting many people to be there, but they have to be there, security for health and safety reasons at all sporting events.
But I admired it was the day before and you could just see all the feds sit around us. You just like, that's never going to hold them.
Yeah.
How many did the figure turning up?
Just probably like a couple of hundred, and you're like, no. United's biggest fixture this season at home, you think only a few people are going to turn up for a protest. But I think again, lads,
there just needs to be a bit on just how amazing it is that hours before the biggest fixture of these two clubs' season, the rivalry and the derby, and yet they've never been more united.
Yeah, absolutely surreal. I don't know if you did see a video, but I did see one of a fan recreating the Wayne Rooney bicycle clip.
I've seen so many, but I never saw that. I know it got mentioned, but I didn't actually see any clip of it.
Yeah, I'll give him credit, it was a decent volley. Then there was the kid I saw who managed to get onto the crossbar. There was a guy that turned up in...
I get such a sick fancy though of him seeing him just fall off. just the ball getting kicked to the net and he just tumbles off.
There was a fan there that
Bruno
had
Fernandes
zebra
claiming penalty.
Yeah. Sky were making a whole palaver about it, as they do with anything. I mean, I think all the pundits were in unison saying, right, they've got every right to protest, and what they're protesting for is 100% correct, and you can't blame them. But it's just the few idiots that were throwing the flares and just destroying property is where they were all drawing the line, which I fully support. I say, like, everyone, you have the right to protest, do what you like, but do within the realms of safety of everyone else, because when you're doing stuff like throwing bottles or flares that could hit someone, it does get a bit ridiculous, but the protest is right, and hopefully now that United fans have managed to get the attention of the world's media from doing so and getting a game postponed, because that's never happened in a game of football before, as far as I'm aware. I remember the West Ham fans had their protest a few years back during their game where they were protesting about Golden Sullivan and Karen Brady, but I don't remember them getting that game called off, if I remember correctly.
No, all I remember is Mark Noble kicking shit out of one of them. That's what I remember.
Yes.
That. But no, you're not wrong. Yeah, but again, I rewatched the Sky clip before doing this. Yeah, they weren't wrong with some of the points they talked. I think Neville and Carragher were on form again, as they have been the last 2 weeks. They managed to keep it on, the main talking point that it should have been, not, the scenes that obviously try and take away from all of that.
Yeah. Because it's not like they kept saying, it's not the majority of fans that were doing the stupid antics. It was just a select handful. But like they said, you're going to get that at any event where there's a protest or something going on. You're going to get that handful of idiots that are doing something stupid. But 99% of the people there are doing it in the right thing. Is they were against the idea of the Super League. They're against the Glazers, and they have been for the past 16 years since they put us into debt pretty much within a year or two of taking over. So what they're doing is correct, but it's just, like I said, the handful of people that are just wrong. But the idea of the protest is good, and honestly I hope that United fans continue to protest, obviously in a more sensible manner where games aren't getting called off and people's lives aren't at risk. But I'm just hoping it gets the message across, and that the Glazers actually do put in some actual communication. Because on Friday there was a supporters meeting forum with Edward Wood, the Man United Supporters Trust, and a few other fan groups, and apparently the Glazers were asked they could attend, but they decided not to, which doesn't surprise me, to get their opinions across about the whole Super League situation and the club going forward. So for me, I see it's good, but we've been protesting, like I said, for 16 years. I remember that game against AC Milan, what was it, 2010-11 season in the Champions League, and you remember at the full time David Beckham was on the pitch and they were throwing the green and gold scarves over to him. That whole game was protesting about anti-Glazers. So we've been doing it for years. It's just, I don't see them selling up, unfortunately.
There's a lot to obviously think about with that. It's who actually could afford it, as well as a small number. But I have to go back on Sky this because because it was Souness, wasn't it? He said the line, we didn't see Man United fans protesting about this before the Super League. There clearly were.
Well, yeah, like I just said, a case in point of that game, the whole reason FC United of Manchester were founded was based on the sole principle of the Glazers taking over Manchester United, because they didn't want an American greedy businessman coming about and ruining the club. It's not like this is, like you said, it's not the first time. There's been hundreds of occasions where you see green and gold worn around Old Trafford on match days, and that because they don't like the Glazers. Yes, they spent money on the club with the players that have been bought in over the years, and obviously the financial side, e.g. sponsorships and all that, has gone up massively during their time. But it's the way that they're running the club. It's like United are funding it themselves through being the fact of Manchester United, rather than the Glazers themselves putting money into their own pocket and saying, right, here's how we'll help you. You can clearly see at Man City, Shakeman Shaw, Chelsea with Roman Abramovich, they've invested into Chelsea and Man City. But
wasn't it 1.5 billion, the exact number?
I think so, yeah.
Wasted as it was.
Yeah, it's crazy. The amount of debt that has been incurred since the Glazers have taken over at Manchester United is ridiculous, and that's the thing United are hating, because we were on the stock exchange before the Glazers took over, but we weren't in any debt at all. But in the 16 years that they have been in charge of us, or ownership of us, they've just put us into a serious, massive amount of debt, and it's continuing to rise each year, and that's what is getting United fans annoyed. Yes, at the minute in time we're not doing that badly. You think, okay, points deduction, or we can't spend anything and you have to sell all the best players. But it's not a healthy way of living. You can't, like, they're spending more than they have available realistically. It's just on a grander scale of some of the small teams that have had financial trouble in the last years or so.
Yeah, I'm always struggling to call this because this isn't my club. I don't know the full situation. Like, I've been under bad ownerships more than once, but never to this grand scale. Because it was pretty easy to get them out because we just had no success, and they just left when it was the right time to.
Yeah, and I think that's been United's backhand at the same time as we've had success under Ferguson, and since he's gone, yes, we haven't won a Premier League trophy, but we have still won trophies pretty much every year. I mean, it's been a few years since we won the Europa League, which I think was our last trophy, if I remember correctly, under Mourinho, but United have still won stuff, and I think that's where the Glazers are saying, right, as long as they're still winning, we'll still support the club in a minimalistic way, where if we did do, say, like Aston Villa, Birmingham City and all that, and we weren't successful, then I think they would have sold up by now, but it's down to the genius of Sir Alex Ferguson, who won with limited resources. Because if you look from 2005 when they took over until the day Sir Alex Ferguson left, we weren't spending crazy amounts on players. It's only in recent years since he's left where we spent ridiculous amount on a signing or multiple windows. I think
it's a difficult one.
Yeah, I don't know how you solve it, because there's been a lot of people saying they want this 50+1 rule like they have in the Bundesliga, but the thing is, that's how a lot of German companies are run. They have people are stakeholders in their stuff, so it's not just the football level. And
actually, then again, we're saying it's difficult. Actually, it's easy to come up with the ideas. Implementing it, though, is another thing.
Yeah.
Which, obviously, lengthy discussions would be needed.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what the fan-led review is, and that can only be a good thing.
Yeah, but for me, I just don't see it happening anytime soon. And as much as I want the Glazers to go out, like, I'm there with every Man United fan in wanting the Glazers gone, and I've never liked them. But I'm being truthful and realistic here, knowing that they won't sell up anytime soon.
Yeah, and even if they did, we're talking billions.
Yeah, I think they've been said that they wanted like 3-4 billion for him, and like you said earlier on, there's only a select amount of people that can get a hold of them. And who says just because we sell from one billionaire to another billionaire that this next set are going to be as good or good at all?
Question is, does the owner of Apple Music happen to be a Man United fan?
I don't know who the I know you're saying about Daniel Ek at Arsenal, but I don't know who the owner of Apple Music is. I don't know whether it is that Tim Cook.
Jay-Z. Does he want to step in?
I mean, he does own the Brooklyn Nets, so...
And what is it, the one he owns again? It's Tidal, isn't it?
Yeah, Tidal Wave. But yeah, I think
if we can, I could talk on the serious stuff or whatever. I really still want to go in on Sky because I've never seen such a terrible attempt to fill airtime in my whole life.
Yeah, so they had about, was it 2 hours to fill now?
I don't know why they didn't just go off air.
Was it 3? Well, yeah, just shove something else on.
Just put some around, look an episode of the Premier League is on. Much better than any of the half-full shit you tend to put on.
Yeah. So, obviously they had time to fill before the Tottenham-Sheffield United game at White Hart Lane, or whatever the fuck their stadium's called, which took place at 7:15. So, I mean, I just didn't pay attention to it afterwards because I was doing other stuff, watching the end of the Women's Super League and action, which we'll get onto later on.
It was just painful hearing Dave Jones. I know he's doing his job, probably, but it's trying to come across the balanced argument.
Yeah.
You come across like a dick.
Yeah. And it was like earlier on this season, I think it was Gary Neville talking about the racism stuff. It might have been late last season. Yeah. And Dave Jones then had to go, Gary's Neville views don't represent that of Sky. Like, you don't need to say that. I know he has to for corporate and business side, but come on, just act like a human being. Make your instinct on your own accord. You don't need to say this stuff. We all know that's not everyone at Sky's point of view. We know it's Gary Neville because Gary Neville is saying that. Like,
but it was almost the Sky mask slipping slightly, because this was, remember, 2 weeks ago they were all against the Super League because that was against them and their profits. This protest stopped their big half-4 Derby Day overhyped clash. So who are they going to go for? The fans that have just stopped that game.